Gingrich just went off and said the one thing that could end Russia probe. Newt Gingrich had some strong words for the Russia probe and its supporters this morning, shedding a much-needed light on what President Trump has called nothing more than a witch hunt. I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the man who told me to fire the FBI director. Witch hunt, said President Trump. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich was quick to support the president's comment and has continued to argue the innocence of his decisions. Totally right.
Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich became one of Donald Trump's most prominent and outspoken surrogates in the 2016 presidential campaign. The Republican was once a presidential hopeful himself. He's written more than 24 books. The latest is called Understanding Trump. He writes, "To really grasp Trump, you must understand his doctrine and his psychology, the collection of attitudes and methods he used to achieve success. That doctrine is fast, it's aggressive, disruptive, and confounding to the unwary." Newt Gingrich joins us at the table to discuss. We're going to talk about your book in just a sec, because you call Donald Trump one of the most remarkable individuals to occupy the White House. Everybody agrees with you on that, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about Jeff Sessions. Word on the street is that you are very good at giving advice. Would you give him advice?
Whether the advice is good or not, I'm not sure.
Well, that's a word about you, Mr. Gingrich. Would you give Mr. Sessions the advice to be more forthcoming with his meetings with Russian officials?
Sure, of course, and I think he will be.
He has not been, would you say, up to this point?
Well, you know, his answer was that he misunderstood the question.
Do you think that's true?
Probably. I think he originally was asked, "Had you met with the Russians in your campaign role?" And he said no. Now, he met with them twice as a U.S. Senator, and the truth is, as it turned out from a number of his critics, that all sorts of U.S. Senators routinely meet with the Russian ambassador, and it's a courtesy event. I think you're going to find in this latest allegation that the Russian ambassador was one of 90 people in a room, and then wrote home and said, "I met with Senator Sessions today," because it made him look good. But in fact, there's no evidence that they ever met, except maybe walking through the Mayflower at a reception.
This is that reportedly third undisclosed meeting that the former FBI director told senators about, that maybe the Attorney General did.
And that's based apparently on, this is all hearsay, but it's based apparently on an intercept of the Russian ambassador saying, I met with him. Well, the pictures of the actual reception don't show the Russian ambassador anywhere near Sessions, and Sessions is milling around with 90 people, and there's no evidence that there was a private meeting.
Do you think the president's considering firing Robert Mueller?
No.
Why don't you think that? Why don't you think that?
Well, because I think the president actually is pretty confident that ultimately this is all going to come out in the wash, and ultimately he's still going to be president, and this stuff's all going to go away. But I think the president, I know because he and I talked about it a little bit.
When was the last time you talked to him?
Last night.
Wait a minute, last night?
Yeah.
About?
He called me because I've been very clear about the fact that Mueller hiring 4 Democrats. His first 4 attorneys are all Democrats. One of them worked for the Clinton Foundation. He apparently couldn't find a single pro-Trump attorney to hire. And I just think that that's a rigged game. And I think that it's a mistake to pretend that this is going to be some neutral investigation.
Do you think they would say they're anti-Trump?
Well, they all 4 gave money to the Democrats. The Justice Department itself, of its contributions, 97% went to Hillary.
Perhaps simply that they're the best attorneys you can find, because they had long experience.
You're suggesting that in the entire country there are no Republican attorneys that Mueller
Now, I'm suggesting that perhaps the one he's hired so far may be the best he could find.
I just think, look,
So what was you saying to the president?
You had a piece a couple minutes ago on the president being assassinated, okay? We had a so-called comedian holding the president's bloody head. In this kind of environment, I don't give the benefit of the doubt to somebody who can only hire Democrats who claims that we ought to trust him.
Yeah, but it was a Shakespeare play, though, Mr. Gingrich.
It's a great play, and I recommend the liberals that they look at Mark.
But it was an actual plan, though.
You're right. Well, that is
okay.
Let me just ask you about your change of tune, because in May you tweeted that Bob Mueller is a superb choice to be special counsel. His reputation is impeccable for honesty and integrity. The media should calm down.
Right.
And now you're questioning whether he's going to be fair or not. Which one is it?
Well, 3 things changed my mind. The first was Comey's astonishing comment last week, and this fits totally in understanding Trump and the whole point of what the world Trump's in the middle of. Comey last week says with enormous arrogance I decided that I would leak so that we would set up a special counsel. Now, the idea that the FBI director, by the way, Mueller's one of his closest friends, the idea that the FBI director would manipulate the entire system through a leak in order to get a special counsel, to me, set off alarm bells. Second, as I said a minute ago, Mueller's first 4 hires, 1 worked for the Clinton Foundation, all 4 donated to the Democrats. One of them has a terrible record of hiding information from defendants and was repudiated 9-0 by the Supreme Court. These are not the kind of people that make me feel comfortable in this environment that we're going to get a serious, honest investigation.
So you want an independent counsel?
Or I don't just have Mueller commit that he's going to hire as many Republicans as he hires Democrats. Let's just start with transparency. Could we have as many pro-Trump lawyers as we have anti-Trump lawyers?
I don't think you should.
You talked to Trump last night. Did you say that? I thought you said you talked to him last night.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's big news. I mean,
well, I didn't know that.
well, yeah, I didn't tweet it.
Describe how his mindset is now. People say he's isolated. People say he's under siege. People say...
Look, to be a typical author, let me say this. Part of the reason I wrote Understanding Trump is to help people understand Trump. Trump is a man of enormous resilience. He is a man who, and the opening of his book, The Art of the Comeback, which in some ways is psychologically more interesting than The Art of the Deal, where he talks about he's about to go bankrupt personally, he's about to go bankrupt corporately. Ivana's called to say she wants a divorce, and he says, you know, I could either get really depressed or I could figure out how to come back. Now, that's Trump. I talked to him 2 or 3 weeks before the election. He was supposedly down 10 points, and he said with an enormous intensity, I always win.
After the Access Hollywood tape, you point out that he said that.
He said 3 times to me, I always win. He said, I'm not quite sure how yet, but by election day, I want you to know. Now, I think his attitude, he's now president.
No, you said you say he aims high and accomplishes what people say is impossible.
Right, and he has done a lot of that already.
Let me ask you then about the business of legislating. I mean, he promised to help the forgotten people. He has a Republican Congress, as you know. You were incredibly productive in the first 100 days. What's wrong with the legislative process?
I think that this is one of the areas where Trump is going to have to ultimately really rethink the whole approach and really become much more like Reagan in reaching out to the country and building waves of support. They've been fairly productive.
But he has a Republican Congress.
Well, but that's a misnomer. Look, Trump had a hostile takeover of the Republican Party, followed by a hostile takeover of Washington. I mean, and I think he underestimated how really complicated this was. And again, part of the reason I wrote Understanding Trump is because I'm sitting there thinking, the guy that I watch and study pretty carefully is very different from a traditional politician.
Having said all of that, what would worry you about? What kind of development would worry you about his survival in office?
No, look, he's not going to get impeached. Bloomberg's
impeached. I'm just saying.
No, Mayor Bloomberg said the other day, in the end, Trump's going to get reelected. Now, this truly horrifies liberals. I think he'll be there for 8 years. I think in his heart he knows he'll be there for 8 years. As you know, because you've covered this your whole career, the power of a president to survive is unbelievable. And I think Trump is learning. I think he learns every day a little bit. Look at his foreign trip, which was a tour de force. I mean, that's as good as any president in my lifetime.
Well, some people argue that the Saudi Arabia part was good, but the European part was not good.
No, the European Party accomplished exactly what he intended.
We also say the presidency is a work in progress.
Absolutely. It will be until the day he leaves.
Mr. Speaker, it's good to see you. The book is called Understanding Trump. It's on sale today.
Well, I trust Newt Gingrich, and I feel that Newt Gingrich knows what he's talking about. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.